So you want to do some retro PC gaming but don't have a lot of money to spend? Well, I have actually over time kind of accumulated some different strategies to find relatively cheap, affordable old computers that I can use in various ways, play different types of games from different time periods. And I can tell you that oftentimes it's a bit of luck. It's also a bit of skill in finding these old systems for, a reasonable price these days. And so what I want to do in this video is just talk about 3 ways that you can find old computers today for a relatively cheap price. All right, number one. So with this first one, you'll probably think that I am kind of pulling your leg here or wasting your time. But seriously, guys, eBay can actually be a good place to find relatively cheap older computers. It really just kind of takes a little bit of patience. And what I usually do is I try a lot of different search terms. One of my favorites is vintage desktop or vintage desktop computer, and not just vintage computer. Sometimes I'll specify, something like vintage Pentium, and interestingly enough, you get a lot of old Pentium computers in addition to the actual processor. Other times, I'll put in, I will also try, the operating system, so Windows 95 computer, Windows 98 computer, even Windows XP computer, whatever it is that you're looking for, kind of search under the operating system, or DOS computer, vintage DOS computer. Just kind of mix and match some of these terms, or DOS, desktop, DOS, PC. So yeah, go after the operating system that you're looking for. And if you are looking for a specific brand of computer, or Compaq, or a Dell, or an IBM or something like that, then go ahead and specify that. But just kind of keep in mind that if you are that particular about it, you probably won't be able to get as cheap of a system as if you're just, willing to take almost anything, any kind of brand anyway, including some, non-name brand desktop computers. So that's why I really like that particular term. Now, another thing that I do is, instead of wading through all of these relatively expensive and, quite honestly, in a lot of cases overpriced computers, I will specify, if you go down the left side, you can indicate what price range you're willing to accept. So I usually put in, if I'm looking for something really cheap, maybe between like $50 and $100. And you can actually specify free shipping. If that's absolutely as much as you're going to spend including shipping, then specify free shipping. And if you live in a big city, I actually do recommend that you specify that you're looking for local, right? Because you can actually find a number of things people are selling local that might have free pickup. Just because it's in your area. This doesn't work very good for me because I'm kind of in a mid-sized city, but again, if you're in a larger city, you're going to have more options for that. Number 2 are Craigslist and Facebook Market, though I've had a lot more luck actually with Craigslist than Facebook Market. I do think Facebook Market is worth looking at. I found basically an old CRT monitor that someone was giving away basically for nothing. I found an old pair of Altec Lansing speakers for really cheap. So those were good finds. But the problem is, they kind of flood your market list with a bunch of stuff that's not local, and that's kind of the point of being on there for the most part, is that you're trying to find cheap local stuff, and it's kind of hard to wade through sometimes. So I have if I had more luck overall with Craigslist anyway. I like to go on Craigslist, especially during the summer months. You can have some luck with it in the winter as well, but I find the summer is the best time to look. And I'll actually search not just for, vintage computers. I mean, you can start with that search term and just see what's there. But I often pair up computer with yard sale, estate sale, and garage sale. Oftentimes when people are having these bigger house garage sales, they'll have an older computer that they're trying to get rid of, so they'll list it with a bunch of other stuff, and you can actually search for it. If I'm particularly bored or desperate, I could I just search for estate sales actually, and even if they don't have a computer listed, I kind of wade through the photos a little bit and see what's available. And this actually happened just this past week. I found this estate sale, and just one of the photos, they didn't have it listed, was this old compact computer. And I went and tried to get it, but there was this huge line outside. So you do want to kind of get there early is another recommendation I have. If you do go to an estate sale, is that has an older computer, get there early. I didn't get there early enough. Someone else snatched it up right away, and that's that. But I have actually gotten a few older computers through estate sales, garage sales, yard sales, again, mostly during the summer. That seems to be the best time. People are trying to get rid of stuff, spring cleaning, summer cleaning, people moving out and just getting rid of stuff. So that's a great way of doing it. Again, you can also just search for vintage computer too and see what you find. Number 3, last but not least by any measure, and this is kind of my secret weapon, are local recycling centers, electronics recycling or computer recycling. Just go on Google. Unless you live in a really small, town out in the middle of nowhere, this usually works. So just go on Google, put in the name of your city, and computer recycling and or electronics recycling. And I live here in Omaha. It's not a huge city, but there's actually like 3 or 4 major computer electronics recycling companies just within the city of less than 1 million people. So, if you live in a bigger city, you probably will have more options. So I would just give them a call, even though I ended up just going to one and talking to one of the managers there and, forming a little bit of a relationship. I basically just asked, do you get older computers? Would you be willing to save any of them and sell them to me? And I was like, I think I was the first person to ever ask anything like that, because he said, yes, we get some of those old 90s computers and beige cases, and we just take them apart and scrap them. I mean, no one wants them. At least they think that no one wants them, and so they just get rid of them, right? They just recycle them, so that's what they do. And I was like, well, I'm willing to pay for them. And he's like, oh yeah, how much? And I said, well, kind of depends on what computer it is, but probably $10 or $20 a piece. And he's like, okay, I'll save some for you. So, this was a couple years ago, but he would call me and be like, I've got 10 computers. You want to come look at them and pick out the ones you want? So I did this for a couple summers, and I realized I just had too many computers. So I had to stop. I ended up selling them on eBay and giving them to friends, fixing them up. I had a really good time, but it was just too many. So I think this should work well for a lot of cases for a lot of different people, assuming that you have a place like this in your city. So I would give that a try. Take a look. Even if it doesn't say on their website that they, actually sell stuff, they might be willing to do it anyway, kind of on the side. So I would check into it, and you really have nothing to lose. The worst they can do is just say, we don't, we never get any of that kind of stuff, or we're not willing to sell it. So definitely worth a try. All right, guys. So those are my top 3. The big third one there is certainly my favorite go-to, but if that's not available as an option, definitely check out Craigslist. Look for those yard sales and so forth, and estate sales, and eBay maybe as a last resort, but you can still find some pretty good deals on there.